What up, world, and welcome to another episode of Black Nerd Fridays. I'm your host, Neal, and I always got the one who, when we got started from the not started from the bottom, now we here, Mr. Refine himself, black bearded nerd. How you doing today, sir?
I'm chilling, bro, man. A little tired, but ready to get into this episode that we just watched recently. But good, you know what I'm saying?
Man, shout out to Suds. You know what I mean? Suds couldn't join us today. Actually, this is Suds. This is the show that she wanted to watch.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, yeah, this is definitely what Suds wanted to watch. At first, I was like, Suds, I was falling asleep on this joint. If you don't know, I'm talking about Record of Ragnarok. When I first saw maybe the previews, I was like, man, this looked like a mixture between JoJo's Bizarre Adventures and just a whole lot of other stuff where I was like, I don't know if I could do this joint, because I definitely fell asleep a couple of times trying to watch it. But like as I did watch it, it started getting it. I'm not gonna lie, some of these battles was pretty fire, and one in particular which I enjoy. So as we do here at Black Nerd Fridays, we don't just love anime, comics, manga, sci-fi, movies, and more. We also love what? Craft beer. You know what's up. So, Mr. Refine, tell the world what you drinking.
Yo, I'm gonna take it back. We've been kind of going like on a three-peat. So it's my turn to bust out and show some love to Brick Terranian.
There we go. Shout out to Brick.
Got the lemon candy, and Brick is always here. He's always in the comments. They always coming up to show love. So I got to bust this out today. I'm not going to get too crazy. I got a long drive in the morning.
I got
4 in the morning. So, but that's what I'm drinking on today, man. That lemon candy experimental, 16.4%.
That's what I'm talking about.
You know what I'm saying? Let's get
Shout out Brick, who just showed up, man. What up with you, Brick? We appreciate you 100% always, man. So I haven't been to a brewery. I don't know how long, man. Work's been crazy, childcare, all that fun stuff. So I'm gonna just keep it light, like I did last this week. I'm gonna go with the People's Beer again, the Indian Pale Ale. You know what I mean? Nice. Shout out to the People's Beer, October 2nd. 2021. If you are here in the Bay Area, if you're here in California, you in Sacramento, you definitely got to go check out the 51st anniversary of the People's Beer is going down. Oak Park Brewing Company, shout out to them. And last but not least, I had to get this, man, because I love this. This released on my birthday, July 24th. Leo season is in the building, and it's the American Pale Ale, man. This thing is the Soul Rock, Citra, and Cascade hops. Definitely love the can art on this one, man. It's just a fun beer, and this one is 5.2 ABV. But man, shout out to Oak Park Brewing Company, and I'm looking forward to other beers. But you know how we do, man. Let's get into it. Let's jump straight into, since it's just you and me. This time we're gonna talk about what the good, bad, and the ugly of Record of Ragnarok, and we're gonna start off with Mr. Refine and his good.
Yo, I'm gonna say this: the animation was crazy on there, like. I'm not gonna front. When I first was watching it, I did just like you, D. I was falling asleep. You know what I'm saying? Like I had to rewatch the first episode probably 6 times. No cap. I just kept falling asleep, and that wasn't because it was boring, and just because I was trying to get into it. I was tired. But anyway, the good was the animation. I love the whole concept of y'all have been pillaging, you have been raping, you have been polluting, you have been doing all the wrong stuff on this earth. And now, in order for us to possibly let you live for another 1,000 years, you got to beat us. I like that concept. So that's my good on that, man. It was crazy. It was definitely interesting. I love the character backstory and stuff. And just all around, it was actually a pretty decent cartoon once I got into it.
Man, that's a very straightforward good from Mr. Refine. That's one. I think that's a first here on the show. A very quick and concise good. For me, I got to say the fight scenes. The fight scenes, they just reminded me, it's like a mixture, like I said, of like you got JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, you got Yu Yu Hakusho type of mix in there, you got Dragon Ball Z with the commentary and the talking, and just the showing the different unveiling the different abilities and everything. So I just really enjoyed that aspect of it, man. For me, fight scenes hands down. And I'm gonna get into rest of it later on with more conversation that we had. But now let's talk about the bad. Again, we do the good, bad, and ugly. Give me the good news first, and then let's break it down to the real. What's the bad, Mr. Refine? What's the bad?
Oh man, they were kind of dragging it on, like with this build up. I kind of felt like Dragon Ball Z, yo. To be honest with you, I was watching these episodes and I'm like, okay, you got Lubu, you got Adam, and you had what's the last person?
Conjuro.
Yeah. So all these people, each time they get ready to fight, it was like this buildup of different stuff, and they was trying to do backstories in between the buildup. I felt like they dropped the ball with that. If anything, you do the backstory before you introduce the character. That was just my personal opinion. So that buildup was just killing it for me. I'm like, yo, just get to it, man. You got Zeus out here fighting. You got Thor out here fighting, and Thor was a beast. And then you got Poseidon. So if you're gonna have these three characters on here, you got to at least just get to it. Like, we're not trying to play these games on what's going on, who this person is that's fighting them before they fight him. Just get to it. So I didn't like that little backstory buildup. Felt like Dragon Ball Z to me. That's just, it is what it is.
Man, that's a fact. I mean, a bad for me. I'm definitely gonna have to say, just the back to Mr. Refine's point, just that drawn out aspect of what's going on. It was just like, man, come on, let's get with it. I think it was too much in between. I like the concept of the show and just humanity needing to survive because the gods are saying they're just a stain on life. I mean, they don't need to live type of situation. So I mean, on that, I can't knock it because it made the show what it was, but definitely it was just drawn out too much. I just rather just go from round to round and keep it going. Like, I know there's a season 2 that's may or may not be happening, but reality of me, I was like, man, with as many episodes, short episodes on that too, with some of my bad, I was like, you could have literally did both seasons, no problem. And we could have been talking about the whole series. So that's what it is. I'm gonna pour up real quick before we go to the ugly. And you know, we always got to talk about the ugly, man, the good, bad, and the ugly. Shout out Helicoastal Brewing Company, man. I got their glass. Had to show love to them. I know Mr. Refine already poured up, so you know, I like to try to be fancy.
And I gave him a 2 thumbs up. Look, Brick, this is fire, bro. This is ooh,
that lemon candy is nice. That lemon candy is nice. The lemon candy is nice.
2 thumbs up all the way.
So let's go to the ugly. Mr. Refine, the ugly.
My ugly, honestly, again, I love the whole idea of, you know, the gods fighting man because they're pillaging Earth, etc. They polluting and just, you know, damaging Earth in general, which is what humans do, which is what we do, unfortunately. And then we try to move on to other planets. So that's my ugly on it. But to be honest with you, it was actually a little bit juxtaposing, like a little bit of a conflict, because we as humans, we take things, we develop stuff, we create new things, and during that process there's going to be a lot of waste, there's going to be a lot of trial and error. And I honestly think that, yeah, you have some people out there that do some bad stuff. We're talking about this universe of Ragnarok. You have some people out there that's doing some bad stuff, but in the just the gist of it all, like as a whole, I'm going to say probably not most of us are those people who just litter and just do things to hurt the environment, etc. So the fact that the gods were even having a conversation to say, yo, we might have to sit down and wipe these people out because they put all this dirt. I thought that was kind of messed up that they were even having that conversation. Like, I know as humans, we do certain things, etc. But just overall, I didn't like that whole concept of them even having a conversation. Like, yo, we about to wipe them out. And you know, if they beat us in this battle, which is going to be tough because we gods and they just, you know, men and women, if they beat us in this battle, we'll give them another 1,000 years and they might have to face us over again. So I didn't like that at all. I thought that was very, very ugly. I thought it was very brutal, but I also respected it at the same time. But yeah, that's my ugly, man. I didn't really care for that whole concept in general.
Man, we on alignment today. I mean, again, my ugly was really 2 things, but the first one is tying in what you saying, just the gods, man. I get tired of them talking all the shit about humanity, and I'm just like, but you have demigods in your circle. Brunhilde. She was, yes. I mean, she was human. I mean, she's a Valkyrie, but she got godly power and half human. You got Hercules. You know, spoiler alert, because we are doing spoilers. You got Hercules at the end, who's supposed to be the hero champion. He's a demigod, so half human, half god. And I'm just like, so what are y'all doing? Y'all talk so bad about humanity, but reality is humanity is just a reflection of you. which again, and I didn't like I got a whole bunch of bad. I mean ugly. I didn't like the fact that like how Zeus and Adam, like just that conversation, because I was like, wait a minute, so is there gods and then there's God at the top, the one and only? Because I'm like, it just wasn't an interaction. Like if Zeus is supposed to be that God, then like I would think that it's like, okay, you created Adam first or something. Like it was no more conversation than that. Like it was really weird on that aspect.
Yes.
And then lastly but not leastly, man, there's no women fighters, and like throughout history there are a lot of women fighters that could get busy. I mean, and I know they're doing historical references to people or mythology or whatever that we know, but I'm just like, come on, man, like no women. Like, I mean, even as the season was dying down, like not one though. You know what I mean? But I love, but anyway, I don't want to go too crazy. But that's my ugly, man. It was just the gods, and I'm just like, man, where the women at, man? Like, where the women fighters at? Because I definitely thought it'd be a different type of battle going that way.
I agree with you on that, bro. I really thought they would have had some women in there, like. If you were to take, let's say, the Valkyrie was lit. Like Brunhilde was nice in Hearst, the one who had the fear and the rage.
Yes,
she was absolutely lit. So to not incorporate these women into the aspect of it was a little disrespectful as well. Again, they're going off of historical references, but we know historically there were women who did things as well in battle. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of agree with you on that, yo. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Got busy.
So with that, man, we just gonna move on. We gotta talk about it. What battle was your favorite and why? Go ahead, Mr.
Oh, this is tough, man. This is tough, but I'm gonna be honest with you. Totally honest. The battle with Poseidon and the swordsman.
Kanjuro. That's a fact.
The aspect of him being able to pretty much, he's in his head, he's going through the process of, if I do this, this is going to happen. Yes. If I do this, this is going to happen. So in his head, he died probably 200 times before he actually finally took a step and made a move. That right there was dope. So when it actually was happening in real time and it was showing him, moving around and predicting possibly where Poseidon went, that was crazy as hell. So the whole action of it, the whole buildup, the whole story, because you see this guy, first off, and you're like, he's a loser based upon his backstory. He's just a loser. He's a loser. He's a loser. He's going against Poseidon. Poseidon has no emotions. Zero. And you watching the fight scenes between the two, it was crazy as hell. It was fire. And I absolutely loved it, man. I think that was their peak for me until I seen, spoiler alert, Hercules and Jack the Ripper come out. Yeah. So that's my favorite battle scene right now.
Man, hands down, man. It's just this is one of the easiest episodes we've done. Poseidon and Kanjuro that was just a great battle. I mean, hands down, I enjoyed every minute of it. I enjoyed the backstory of Kanjuro. I enjoyed a little bit of backstory of Poseidon. And I just love that aspect of like, especially when Kanjuro was like, oh, like you've never experienced defeat. Like you've never experienced, like you never had to work at anything. And I love that conversation. And it was like, when he was like, I pity you. And Poseidon was just like, got furious. Cause he was like, he's like, I am a god. Like, how dare you pity me? I was like, oh, I love this. This is great. And then hands down, when Kanjuro took the sword, touched the arena and like calmed all the water down. I was like, this dude is about to go down. It's about to go down, man. Like, it was fire. It was fire.
Yeah, I agree.
So moving on with that, which character was your favorite and why?
Surprisingly, despite as much as I loved Kanjuro and how lit he was as a swordsman, etc., I actually really loved Hermes. Something about him stood out to me. The dude stayed in the shadows. Yep. I felt like he has an untapped potential that they try not to show, because even though we knew Ares is a god of war and he was kind of like trying to intimidate Hermes, it wasn't working. And even his relationship with him and Zeus, it's respectful. So when you seen Hermes in a room with Poseidon when he killed his brother Adamas, again, spoiler alert, he killed his brother Adamas, that right there was dope, because Poseidon knew he was there and he could have did something to him. So it made me question, yo, what does Hermes have, or what's going on with him that, you know, everybody kind of leaving him be? Like they might
That's a fact,
but they kind of leaving him be. What's good with Hermes? I know he's the messenger, but what's going on with him that makes people not really you know, cross the line? So I'm going with Hermes. That's my guy on there. He was low key, but I feel like he has some heat for him.
and again, he was the right hand man of Zeus in this show. So I mean, it just, to me, I was like, yeah, it's something more to Hermes, and like again, like you said, man, that hidden potential. And he's just not like everybody else. He just, even though he's calm, he's plotting all the time, and Zeus uses him to plot too. So it's pretty crazy who Hermes is as a character. For me, my favorite character is Poseidon. And because it's just straightforward, man. Like, I'm a god, I'm better than you. We're supposed to be held at a standard that's high. And he didn't budge from that. And that's what I like about villains in general, for any show, anime, sci-fi, whatever. When they have their absolute of their own morality and their own perspective, and they stick to their code, it's like I respect that. Even if I think you're full of shit, I respect it because you don't like, oh, I've been swayed and all these things like that. Like, I loved it. Like, Poseidon, hands down, like, he deserved everything he got. But at the end of the day, that was my favorite character, man. Just straight up. Moving on, as we do, what ability showcased was your favorite, or was the best? Excuse me, was the best?
That's tough. That's tough. Let me think. Let me go into my data banks. All right. I'm gonna honestly have to go with Thor. Thor surprised the hell out of me.
Really? Man, that's interesting. Talk about it. Talk about that.
Yeah, and this is why. First off, he had the gloves on. I can't remember the name of him. Started with a P, which was supposed to protect him from the
Mjolnir. Yeah,
that was coming from the hammer, which started with an M, some sort of Swedish word.
Yeah, Mjolnir,
something like that. Yeah, but it's definitely Swedish Norse sort of language. But anyways, he had those gloves on, which were protected from the heat. Yo, when you found out that the dude had the gloves on to protect the weapon from him,
yes,
you know what I mean? That was crazy. And I honestly think that watching his fight with Lubu, because I honestly thought Lubu was going to wash him. Thor pulled it out the bag. I'm saying, once that hammer, Mjolnir or whatever, started throbbing and it had its own thought, that right there blew my mind. And once I seen Thor put that into use, and actually, yo, he literally smashed this dude like it was nothing. He smashed him like you stepping on an ant, pretty much. And to watch that happen, and it was the first battle, I had to give Thor a lot of respect, because honestly, I really, really thought Lubu was going to come in there and wash him, because the way he had that confidence, the way he carried himself. But he ended up getting his ass whooped. And Thor hit him with that hammer as he did. And, when we were watching it, I'm watching in slow-mo as Lubu's dodging the hammer. He's doing all this slick shit. And then Thor's like, what? Man, please stop playing. I ain't really got to my bag yet. You know what I mean? And he washed them. And it was crazy, crazy. So Thor had the best ability, just to me. That's what I thought about it.
Man, not only did he wash Lubu at the end, but then he washed, spoiler alert, he washed the whole army. And I respect, matter of fact, man, side note, I got to throw the army at there as my favorite character, number 2, the whole group. Because they really was like, man, we about to ride or die for him for real. And they all went to go attack Thor. And
his horse.
Man, and the horse tried to kill Thor too. That was fire. That was definitely fire, man.
Yeah.
And I gotta respect the Lubu army, man, because they gained Thor's respect, because they all charged him knowing that they were going to die. And he sent them off to death, but definitely respected them, like looked up to their which we'll talk about a little bit more and get a little more detail on it. But they don't come back. Like, there's no reincarnation in this war between gods and humanity. Once you die in the arena, your entire essence is pretty much wiped away. Like, so you don't get any chance to come back from the afterlife. None of that. It's like you are just like blipped out completely. So crazy. I mean, for me, the favorite ability, I gotta go with the Sharingan of Record of Ragnarok with Adam. And the reason why I like it, because it was crazy. It was between that and Zeus's muscle compression, where he literally compressed his every muscle in his body to the point to where it made it so fast you just couldn't see it. And like that, it was like to me that was like the tiebreaker for that was just that the just having that divine eye that Adam had, and it was crazy because he could track everything, but at the same time, it also made the ability also sucks because again, it's beyond more powerful than what the human body can take for a long period of time and usage, and that just showed. Well, even though in this show, Adam is supposedly hating the gods, like he hates the gods more than any being in existence or ever existed, and he literally just didn't utilize the divine eye because again, he never really had to. He was quote unquote the first one of the first human beings on the planet Earth, so there was nobody else around. Like he was the father of humanity, so he didn't have too many things to fight after getting kicked out of the Garden of Eden. So that was it for me, man. Definitely like that divine eye. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was definitely interesting. I thought that was crazy, especially when they showed that backstory a little bit.
Yes.
And you seen him in the garden, they end up getting kicked out, and then he's in court. And the court consists of the jury of all gods. The audience is all gods. The judge is, a god. And it was just crazy. And the prosecutor, obviously, as well. So it was like all the odds were tied against Eve. And then he came in there, did his divine reflection, swiped his neck right off, like get out of here. He sliced the snake, the serpent, into pieces. And, when you realize how strong he was, because he was the first man. I thought it was interesting, man. He did a lot of good stuff. And to watch that backstory, I thought that was actually the most interesting, to be honest with you. I think they're a little cheesy a bit on there, but it was the most interesting story, especially when he was actually fighting. And you seen the kids, which I'm going to assume which were Cain and Abel. They in the background, like, go get him, daddy, just cheering them on and stuff. I thought that was interesting.
Nah, man, Adam was a real one. Even though that fight seemed crazy, I think because everything was just moving so fast with the punches, the way that they did the artwork, you really didn't get the same sense of threat of death as you did, with Poseidon and Conjuro, because it was literally Conjuro had no superpower. Like, I mean, his superpower was to see the person's moves multiple times. Like he literally could make a mental image of a person in every action that they would do in a battle, and really just over and over and over again practice against that person. So it's like shadow boxing, like with a hologram that could really, that can give you really can give you a challenge. And I thought that's what made that again stand out to me. But no, what was it? I called Divine Eye, but I know it wasn't. What was it called?
Reflection.
Divine Reflection was fire.
It was
fire to me, hands down. So
it definitely was.
Man, we knocking them out the park today. What do you think of the gods and how they view humanity? Because I think this is kind of to the crux of the show.
Facts. I'm gonna be honest. The gods remind me of kind of like talking about the elite in our society. You got 1%. 1% controls the world, whether it be what's going on with the stock market, whether it be let's start the next war. And this could be a deep conversation to take you down a rabbit hole. But they are part of that group of people that decide, in this case, gods that decide who gets to live or die, what's the value of human life, etc. And I thought that, it related a lot to how we live. And if you don't do any research, if you don't know your history, if you don't read books instead of, just being on social media all the time, you won't know this information. Again, we can go down the rabbit hole talking about this, but the gods made me think of that 1% of, okay, I own all the wealth. My family has been collecting this wealth for generation and generation, whether it be something good or whether it be something evil. Most of the time it's something evil. They're doing the wrong thing. That was interesting to me. So when I'm watching the gods do this same thing, I was like, wow, I can relate to that, because I'm one of the 99% of people who's not going to be able to do any changes that'll affect something on a big scale like they do. They'll say, hey, let's come up with this new thing to start a war. All right, we're going to act like we don't have any money over here or whatever, but we'll be giving you money while behind the scenes we're making it seem like, oh, no, we got an issue. I mean, in the public, we have an issue, but behind the scenes, we're funding you with money. And the gods had that sort of concept to me, and I felt that vibe with them, just watching them. Like Zeus was the god of gods. But again, I felt like he was the person that was pulling strings, but he wasn't.
Yeah.
And watching him do certain things, I didn't like it. And they honestly looked at humanity with a disgust, with like a disrespect, like we were ants, we were insects. That kind of pissed me off. The only time I felt like they gave us respect was when he watched I believe it was Broomhilda did something, and he's sitting there kissing at the air and up in the air. You know, other than that, they really looked at us with disgust, like we were beneath them, and we can just be tossed and thrown away, and somebody will replace us later. So I did not like the way gods looked at us. I didn't like the relationship between humanity and them, and I thought that they could have actually stepped back and looked at themselves, because, as you said, we are a reflection of them. So if we are doing bad, if we are doing good, that's based upon the things that we are given or taught from y'all. So an example, I believe it was when Adam was fighting. I could be wrong. Somebody was fighting at one point, and the audience of humans were praying, but somebody had to tell them, "Yo, stop praying, because you're praying to the gods, which in turn actually don't want you here."
That's a fact. I love that part.
I mean?
That part was amazing. I love that somebody said that though. That was amazing that they did that.
Crazy how they did that. So if you think about that, I gotta say, I don't like the relationship. I didn't like how they viewed us, and I definitely hated that they thought of us as totally insignificant and wanted to just get rid of us based upon how they thought of us. But again, we are a reflection of them.
Man, I'm gonna pour a beer on that one, brother. That was well established. Right there.
Man, I can go on down hours talking about that, because that's a conversation we can have behind the scenes about just different stuff pertaining to who's making decisions, who's running the world, etc. And I've read a lot of books. I'm well versed on stuff, so don't let the beard and the skin color fool you. You know what I'm saying?
Mr. Refiner said, "I'm about that action when it comes to research and education." Man, you know, shout out again. Go get that glass from that man right there, that black bearded nerd class. You know, holla at him, hit him up. For me, with the gods, I just thought it was a whole bunch of insecurity, man. Like it was pure insecurity, because even Zeus, like, he had to applaud Adam when Adam beat him to like an inch of his life. And Zeus already knew that he had the divine reflection. So it was all, Zeus could have did a whole bunch more, but he knew that he would have been able to dodge it, and it would have given Adam just time to use his eyes normally. So he went straight brawl on him, because he was like, as a god, there is no, well, at least, and Zeus is a lot older, especially when they did the flashback and showed his young self and all that. But he still had more stamina than a human, and being the first human, Adam, he still had more stamina than him. So like, to me, it was like the gods is really insecurity of like they only focus on the bad, but reality is they put a lot of that bad in there too, from the actions that they did, especially through mythology, especially when people look at the Greeks. Because I like how Loki came into as Loki as a god, a Norwegian god.
Yes.
They had a lot. They have the other gods from all different aspects of different ethnicities. And to me, it was so funny that they put these Greek gods on the totem pole, because again, with Greece and the time of the empire and all that. But it was funny because I'm like, Hercules is your son from you raping a woman or lying to her as someone else's man. But I mean, being the taking the pretty much, what is it?
Man.
Where you just become, he morphed, you know what I mean? He like what's her name off of X-Men? like, you know what I mean? Like, just, it was crazy to me, but they didn't really go into that. But it was just funny that they talked so bad about him. But I'm like, a lot of the stuff you caused, but you know, humanity does have greed. So certain viewpoints as far as the greediness, the lack of togetherness when it comes to that greed and like wanting to be elite. It all ties into that reflection that I was mentioning before, because they look at the guys like, yeah, I want to stand on top. I want to do whatever I want to do. I want people to bow to me. I want people to worship me. Excuse me. And that can tie into, like you were talking about, as far as right now with how we do it. I mean, let's be honest. One of the things that people didn't understand, you got the pandemic, Delta variant, all these other variants coming into play, and 40,000 people showing up to watch Kanye do a half of an album. And the thing is, for so many people, the media especially likes to play us this way. And I just take that as the gods kind of like, they would look at that, but that's the thing that the gods would do. The gods would be like, worship me. And I'm the reason why you are surviving. And it's like, we hate Kanye, but we love Kanye, but we're going to go to the stadium and we're going to listen to this, we're going to listen to this album. And it's just like, it's crazy. It's like, because of what it's not just even music. It's like, because we don't see any flaws with them. And that's the same way I think a lot of times humanity didn't see that with the gods, but Adam did. And when he saw it and went buck wild crazy on him, you know what I mean? Just said enough is enough. Then they were like, oh, this dude, he has to die because he was going, just like when he started that hope that the humans had, when he just sat there and died on his feet, punching the hell out of Zeus. And they were like, oh yeah, we can do this. Like he beat Zeus to a pulp, but just because Zeus had more stamina, he was able to survive that. And like, that's just, it to me, it was the gods and their viewpoint on the negative aspect of humanity. I completely understood it. But then again, at the same time, their insecurity of humanity really doing things that they never had to worry about. They don't have to think about building a ladder to build a house. they just move it. they just do it. Like, I mean, it's like some of them probably could just think it, snap their fingers and a house is built. You know what I mean? Or monuments are created. So that's to me with the gods. Like, I disagree with just humanity just being a stain, but I do agree that the negative aspects and again, the gods got to look at humanity for a very long time. So I completely understand that aspect of like, you had all this time to change or create or unite in a way for humanity, but now you're divided up into kingdoms and ethnic groups and all these things where it's just war on war for resources that are plentiful for everybody. And it was just, so I understood that aspect, but as overall, it's like, it's funny because like I said, look in the mirror, gods, see how you treat humanity. And if you treat somebody who you have complete power over, quote unquote, and you treat them like shit, that says more about you than it says about the person that you have control over. So
I think I want to kind of add to that Adam situation. Honestly, I feel like Adam should have been on par with Zeus.
Facts.
Zeus, I feel like they, bigged up him a little bit too much. But if you were realistic, first off, man was created in a reflection of God. This is what we're going off of, right? So Adam was the first human or man, whether man or woman, created. He should have been on par, or if not better than Zeus, because he was like a god or a god since he was the first iteration of man. And I don't like the fact that they allowed Zeus to beat him. And Zeus had went into 3 different forms,
like Frieza.
Forms. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he did all these Frieza little changes and stuff to beat him. And he went into a form. The last one was to constrict the muscles. I honestly felt he should have lost, and I felt he should have lost after the fact because the form he took on was Adamas, which was the oldest brother, right? Adamas was wiped out by Poseidon,
exactly.
So how can you take on the form muscularly and be able to beat Adam after he already wore you down? He already twisted your neck around.
Come on,
you know what I mean? Like,
speak on it, brother. Speak on it.
I just felt like they cheated Adam and they was trying to, do a little bit too much for these gods. And Adam honestly should have washed Zeus. Facts. They played up in his favor. I thought that was a little cheat code, and it was whack to me. I didn't like that at all.
Exactly. We on the same page with that because that is facts. Right. So, man, last question. Guys always talking about, or at least not last question, but just the last question as far as the catalog goes with questions. Man, what would the gods do without humanity? I don't know. Talk about it. Talk about it, Mr. Refine.
What would they do without us? Same thing they've been doing for millennia. Being bored, figuring out things to do, fighting with each other about nothing. They have nobody they can control really or puppeteer because they don't really have too much control over each other, considering they all are gods. Like one might be stronger than the other, but it's not. They don't have too much of a gap in their powers wise. So without us, there is no them. They don't have any power if we don't believe in them. That's just how it goes. So without us, they're nothing. So if we weren't there to say, all right, we're going to fight y'all, we're going to go against the grain, etc. What are they doing? You know what I mean? What are they doing if we don't exist? What did they do before we existed? That is another question. So without us, I feel like they're garbage. They have nothing to live for.
Trash.
Nothing to do.
Trash.
Especially watching them like, all right, I'm watching Aphrodite. I'm going to assume that's who that was.
Yeah.
She had the two like
stone statue dudes holding her breath. We can talk about it.
7 just sitting there just holding her. And then she might get, as she said, aroused. I think she got aroused for
I think it was Adam. Yeah, it was Adam.
And she might have got aroused for the swordsman. And they just, plumped up. I was like, yo, what's going on here? But you have someone like her. What is she doing? What is she, the goddess of love, I believe?
Yeah, supposedly.
What is your powers? And she was like, yo, I haven't been aroused in 1,000 years.
Wow.
And she's sitting there with these size double H breasts with 2 statue sort of things, holding her breasts up 24/7. What is your ability? You know what I mean? You have Zeus who can fight. You have Poseidon. They did not show Hades, and I don't know why they didn't. Maybe Adamus was supposed to be Hades. They didn't show him. But you have all these guys that have unique powers and unique abilities, specifically Odin. Odin looked like he has some power behind him. With the 2 birds, and just he had this mystique and aura about him. So the point is, I'm kind of sidetracking. The point is, they would do nothing without us because they are nothing if we don't believe in them. And that's just what it is. That's why if you do the research in history, when they reference gods, that's why they say they died off, because we stopped believing in them. So I say if we're not around, they don't have any more powers. That's what it is.
Man, that's a fact. Man, I'm just on the saying they would do nothing. Like, I mean, I know that that's the case. I don't. It is really. It's like a. It's just a rhetorical question, because it's like at the end of the day, like, you want to kill humanity, and then you're going to bring humanity back, because the warring that was going on with the gods, they had to stop it because too many guys were dying. Like, I mean, that's just what it is. Like, all those guys became in a council or a sit down group, or created a governing structure, because they were killing each other for petty things, like petty things. Like, I mean, it was just crazy, man. Let me hide this one. So all in all, like, with the show, I'm what rating would you give it? That's one of the questions I need to start typing up here. Like, I'm gonna type that up while you answer that. I'm gonna type up, what rating would you give this show? Is it must watch? Something like that. Let's do that. What rating? No, go ahead.
I'm gonna say this is my personal opinion. My opinion. Watch it for entertainment purposes, because it's intriguing and they leave you kind of on a cliff note at the end. But as far as having to watch it, you don't necessarily have to. I would give it a 3 out of 5. 5 is the highest star and 1 is the lowest. I would give it a 3 or 3.5, because it was okay at best. The leading up to the fights, the way the transition of the backstory between the characters was a little off. They bit off Attack on Titan heavily when they had the giants coming in, devouring the gods, and you have Thor come in and save everybody. So I'm giving them a 3 out of 5, with 3.5 or 3 out of 5 on that one, because it's whatever. Like, it's entertaining. Shout out to Sudz for having us watch this, because we don't all have to agree on the same stuff, but it was entertaining, and it was a good fight scene and stuff, but it wasn't really a well-rounded show. They had a lot of holes and gaps in there. But I would still suggest to watch it, because, as I say, like on my beer reviews, what I like, you might not like, and vice versa. So check it out. But it's a 3 out of 5, in my opinion.
3 out of 5. Yeah, I told Sudz I fell asleep multiple times on this. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I even missed the Adam backstory. Like, I try to go back and watch it, but sometimes I was like, man, where is this going? It didn't help that you're watching at night. So I will say, if you're gonna watch this show, don't watch it at nighttime, because the monologue will definitely knock you out unless you. I mean, it's different. Like, if you watching a Dragon Ball Z or a One Piece, where you're invested in the show, so your brain is telling you to stay up and watch it, even though they could literally skip past all this monologue and really get down to the nitty gritty, the fist fighting. But yeah, I probably, for me, It got better, so I'm gonna stick with that too. We're gonna do a 1 out of 5 score. I'm gonna give it a 3 as well. Something just to take a look at. I thought it'd be easy. It's not as easily to consume as I thought it would be. So even those episodes that are short, it kind of pisses you off because they go short and then they go another short and then they go long and then they go short again. And I'm just kind of like, well, I guess this is how they set this up, with just to fill those episodes to have that season mark for Netflix.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I did not like that at all. Also, if you paid attention, you kind of referenced something earlier. I don't mean to cut you off.
No, it's all good.
You said, and this is that back to that idea of the 1% thing. All right, so the Greek gods are supposed to be the creme de la creme when it comes to gods and goddesses, etc. Where does Shiva stand in this? Because that was Shiva with the 4 arms. I'm pretty sure that's who that was. If you looked at the list that they had of who's fighting, etc., humans and gods, Shiva was on that list. Where does he stand compared to them?
That's a fact. Well, you know they made it. Let me take this off so people get confused. But for the playback. But Shiva's supposed to be weaker than Zeus because remember they were going to get into a fight about him going up next.
Yes.
And they literally Zeus was like, "No, I'm going up next," and like squeezed his shoulder, and it was like, but I mean, like what you're getting to and referencing again about the god Shiva, like that's a warrior. That ain't no like, that's not something that Zeus, regardless of how apex he may quote unquote be in the realm of gods, that ain't nothing that's like Superman telling Wonder Woman, like, shut up or I beat you down. And Wonder Woman just be like, nah, like we going, woe be the one who tries Wonder Woman.
But they going off of, I feel like they're going off that ideology. You talking Greek. So Greek to me is white, is whiteness.
Oh yeah, we already know that. I was gonna get into that later too, about like everybody being blonde haired, except for the Japanese, which I respected, man. I respected that the Japanese. Come on, man, blonde hair, blue eyes. I knew it was there. But we know that. I mean, we know that, so it wasn't a shock to me. But yeah, I definitely think Shiva, or if I pronounce the guy's name right, need to get more respect because I remember going to an art museum in San Francisco actually with Indian culture, and that was and it was actually not a man, if I'm not mistaken. I thought it was supposed to be a woman. But so. Yeah, so I could be completely wrong. So do your research as always. It's just my opinions and thought processes. But yeah, definitely don't play. Don't play like Zeus was the end all be all, man. Because there's been plenty of times where Zeus got whooped, man. God of War, the video game, Zeus got his ass handed, to him. But anyway, moving on, keeping it together. What do you want to see from the Valkyrie? Like, I mean, I thought about it while I was here, and I was like, let's talk about it. Go ahead, Ms. Refine. Talk about what you want to see from the Valkyrie. What does Broomhilda? What does she need to do? What does the other Valkyrie need to do? Let's go.
They lost 2 of them. They lost the first one, which was for Lubu. I can't remember the name, Ringish or something like that.
And the one for Adam. Yeah.
Yes, and then they lost the brass knuckle one for Adam. So Hurst was for Conjuro. I think Broomhilda needs to get out there and fight. I feel like she has something up her sleeve, and for them to not give them like a backstory, because for some reason the Valkyrie want to keep humanity or mankind alive.
Yep.
Why do they want to do that, and why is she so hell bent on doing it? Because she has a list of different people she wants to go from and choose from as far as who's going to fight.
Yeah.
What made her choose them? What sort of reference is she going off, etc.? I want to see Broomhilda get in there and throw them hands, or at least give us a backstory of what's going on with her, because I think she's very, very interesting. Even the little girl, Gold or whatever her name is with her, which I feel is a young Valkyrie. What are you going to do going forward? Because we just came off a win. It's the first win that they had. So they got the motivation, they amp right now. They're ready to go forward. What are you going to do to keep that motivation going? And what are you going to do, as a Valkyrie to push the things further? They got to show some backstory with them. And I feel like they cut it off. They could have cut out the little 6 fights that Konjiro had. They could have just showed that he was a loser in traditional and incorporated in Broomhilda. That's my personal opinion. They could have cut out some of the things with Adam just a little bit and incorporated Broomhilda. So I want to see this Valkyrie come in and give us a little bit more backstory, because when you watch Thor Ragnarok, which I hated, I'm just going to keep it 100. This is another sidetrack. I hated the movie, but the Valkyrie, which is played by Tessa Thompson, was the most interesting character to me. So watching this and referencing that, what is it that Broomhilda has to offer to humanity? Because you got something up your sleeve if you stand in the way you stand and having that stance like you do. So what y'all gonna do?
And talking to Hermes, behind the scenes, spoiler alert, talking to Hermes behind the scene. I mean, for me, man, I just want to see the Valkyrie, just like the last Valkyrie that was with Konjiro, get active, like put in that work. And I think that probably was the best combination of human and Valkyrie, soul combination, however you do that, the soul combined type of thing. Like, I think that was the best one, because Konjiro was not known for being too short of style and got 2 swords, but just was well balanced with that Valkyrie. And I think the more that these Valkyrie really get involved, I want them to have the type of mentality that the last Valkyrie with Konjiro, whose name I forgot, to have, when it's like, no, like we have to say, if we're gonna save humanity, we got to go like all in. Like, we got to be like, yo, this is life or death, this situation. You can do it. Cheerlead in the background, rah rah rah. You know what I mean? Like the Soul King type of situation, and let's get into action. But I definitely want to see the Valkyrie come out on top on certain things. Like, I definitely just want them more. I want to hear more conversations from them. Maybe they'll have a scene where they're talking to them, like, don't give up or something like that. Just not just, oh, I turn into this weapon that'll help you hurt the gods or damage the gods. Like, I want more than that, because like this is like supposed to be, they become one. So that's what I want to see from the Valkyrie.
And they do kind of their ultimate sacrifice when they become the weapon.
Oh yeah, man, they risking their life.
Yeah, if you're going to do that, what is the backstory behind it? They got to give us a little bit more history on it. And I think season 2 they will, if there's a season 2.
If there's season 2, yeah,
they can cancel it.
So, one other question: will the fight go to 13 rounds, man? Will it really go all the way to 13 rounds?
Based upon the series, absolutely. It's going to be something that'll keep you in anticipation. That's just what they do. I feel like if they don't go to 13 rounds, it'll be whack, because they have to have you on the edge of your seat all the way to the last episode. Like, okay, well, the humans as of right now, they're 2-1. Excuse me, 2-1 in favor of the gods. So they're going to push it all the way to that last one, and this is going to be the tiebreak. And the question is, who's going to be that person? Now, this next fight, which is Jack the Ripper and Hercules, I think Jack the Ripper about to wash Hercules. It's just my opinion. But they're going to win that, and then it's going to be the gods again, and it's going to be kind of going back and forth. So they're going to push it all the way to 13. And that 13th round is going to be the deciding factor. And obviously, it's going to be humans winning, because if they don't, it goes back to the question you said before. What do we do without humans? What do the guys do without humanity? So they got to do something to get it pushing forward.
Agreed. Like, again, this show, 13 rounds, I definitely want to see. I want to see the other characters. I mean, like, I definitely did some spoiler alerts for season 2 they didn't show any actual animation, but you got Jack the Ripper, you got Buddha who's going to come in here. Like, it's some, and that Buddha one's very interesting to me, because like, I'm like, is this Kung Fu Buddha or is this enlightened Buddha? Keanu Reeves the style, about a tree type of situation. Like, I really want to see that, but I definitely think it'll go 13 rounds. They gotta. I don't know how interested people will be, because you really do have to sit and watch this show, and like I said, don't watch it at nighttime. Got to be midday, maybe like 7 o'clock ish your time, whatever East Coast, West Coast, Central time you at. Don't watch this at 10 o'clock, like, or 9:30, 10 o'clock, 11. You're gonna be knocked, because it's
actually I did. Last night I watched 3 of them last night. I can't even hold you. I watched 3 of them last night.
I'm trying to tell you, man. Like you got to really be into it. Like the Conjuro one, I was like barely fell asleep, so I was like, okay, cool. But everybody else, I was like, even the Adam and Zeus, I was like, knock. Like it's like gotta do it. No, man, I think that this should go to season 2. I want to see the rest of the fights. I definitely want to see that Jack the Ripper and Hercules one being like just supposed to be pure evil with the death and killing and everything, and then the other one's supposedly being this hero for all.
Evil versus justice.
Yeah. And I want to see if that's real. I mean, I want to see not if that's reality. I just want to see how that plays out, because even though it's supposed to be hero versus the villain, at the end of the day, like the gods are the villains to humanity. So like, are we rooting for Jack the Ripper? Or are we rooting for Hercules to win just so he can keep his hero side to it, man? But if you're interested in the merch that you see, on Mr. Refine and myself, hit us up, DM us, IG, on Instagram, hit us up on the YouTube comments, everything. Let us know. We'll work something out. We're definitely looking to make this merch something that we, especially going to Comic Cons and Blur Cons and all that, that we can make happen. Mr. Refine, man, it was just another great episode, man. You and I sitting down chilling. Definitely want Sudz to come back.
Shout out Sudz and Aphrodite. I want to see her opinion.
That would have been. She would have had something about that fan service. She would have had something about that fan service. So, hey, it's been another episode, man, of Black Nerd Fridays. Next week, I think we're doing He-Man. Masters of the Universe. So Masters of the Universe going down. I was not disappointed in that. So that's coming up on the. Again, if you're watching on the playback, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe. Also, let us know what you want us to see. Give us some constructive criticism on the show. Hey, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? What do you want to see better of? We just want to keep growing and just get that audience that we can keep, that people will sit and watch it. So, is your host D Neal? Is Mr. Refine, Blackbearded?
And as always, give us your comments, like you said. Feedback, whether it be negative or positive, it lets us know where we need to change and grow and develop on. That's never, ever, ever a bad thing. And even you can comment while we're watching the show live, because we try to interact with that as well. But we know people are engaged. That is the point of it. We want to get people out there engaged. We want to let people know that, as always, we as Black people are not a monolith. We love anime. We love sci-fi. We love movies. We love beer. We love all that good stuff. So give us some comments, give us some feedback, and give us your thoughts, period, on how we doing. And definitely support us, like, share, subscribe, as always.
Brick just left a message. Brick said, give us more notice. So we definitely will do that. I'll work with a social media manager so that we can get that going. But definitely next week, we're definitely doing He-Man, Masters of the Universe. Great show, in my opinion. Didn't drop the ball on that, but I can't wait to talk about it. Again, go check out Record of Ragnarok. Netflix is pushing a lot in the anime aspect. I think when AT&T sold Crunchyroll for $2.5 billion or $2 billion, they were like, "Oh, this anime is the thing." And then you got so many Black creatives, especially when they went to BlurCon or DreamCon recently. I think it's RDC World. They're doing crazy. They're doing crazy things. Like, so people really got to realize that this anime thing is not just, oh, that's stupid. This is a lifestyle for the world. Because when Japan was coming out of World War II, figuring out themselves, and they were using anime as didn't really see it as a commodity. When the United States was like, man, go on with that anime shit. Mexico picked it up, and then the rest of the world picked it up. You got China doing manga, which I read a lot of just quick Chinese manga, because I love the action in that. But then you got Chinese manga, Chinese anime, you got South Korean anime. Like, the world understands that this is an export that you can utilize. And again, it's intellectual property, just like here at Black Nerd Fridays. So, hey, check us out. Like I said, like, share, comment, critique, tell your friends to tell a friend. And we'll catch you next week where we're doing Masters of the Universe. I mean, Netflix is just killing the game right now. And we will get to the old school anime. We have not forgotten the old school anime, because, again, we got to show the old school anime love. You got to show the foundation, the love first. That's just a fact. So, Neal, Mr. Refine, we'll catch y'all on the next episode of Black Nerd Fridays every Friday, right here, live stream. We out.
Peace, y'all.